happen. What happens from here? Well, Trump released a statement on Facebook regarding the vote, saying the resolution being considered at the UN Security Council regarding Israel should be vetoed, as the United States has long maintained peace between the Israelis and the Palestinians will only come through direct negotiations between the parties, not through the imposition of terms by the United Nations. Puts Israel in a very poor negotiating position, he said, and is extremely unfair to all the Israelis. It gives us a chance to bring in from the Foundation of Defense Democracies, Boris Zilberman. Now, Boris, thank you very much for joining us. Now, we know what happened in the vote. Tell me what you think of the involvement of the Trump team, Israel going to Trump. What did you make of that?
Well, I think on the vote, I think what's actually important is that you had wall-to-wall support of Democrats and Republicans that were against the UN resolution and urging the president to veto it. I think that, coupled with the incoming administration and the Israeli government, kind of made clear that the Obama administration was the outlier here on this particular issue.
Right. They ended up being an outlier. You did have involvement, which we don't see all the time, but I think we have to get used to it in this particular transition, of a president-elect before he takes office. That worrying to you at all? I mean, it's not only on this issue, but some of the others that we've mentioned.
Look, I think you're going to see him weigh in continually on issues, domestic and foreign, especially in this one where you see there was bipartisan consensus that this was not the way to go.
Now, on the issue of Israel in general, though, to your point, the Obama administration ends up being kind of an outlier on this. This new sheriff in town phenomenon with Donald Trump taking over, how will that relationship change? A stronger friend to Israel? Is it as simple as that, or more? It's always more complicated in the Middle East, I suppose.
Yeah, I think it's going to continue to be complicated, but you'll see at least at the UN, they will try to reshape some of the dynamics that are now created here at this kind of 11th hour move by the Obama administration.
Now, your specialty has been studying what's happened in Russia, and there's no shortage of news out of there today. The back and forth that we had just reported on in our previous segment between the president of Russia, Vladimir Putin, and the president-elect of the United States, and Donald Trump, letter writing to each other. What's your, first of all, your initial take on where they are right now in terms of Mr. Trump possibly being too friendly with Mr. Putin, and then we can talk maybe about what the future holds.
Well, I think today it's important to take in mind that you had the year-end conference that Putin does every year. During the conference, he definitely struck a more conciliatory note when it comes to the nuclear issue, which Donald Trump has been tweeting about and issuing statements on today and yesterday. Certainly a more conciliatory tone on Ukraine, and in general trying to reach out to the incoming administration. The letter itself that he sent to Donald Trump is not very different than previous letters he had sent to the Obama administration, for instance. What I think is different, though, is obviously the president-elect released it and also kind of signaled that there's an opening for warmer relations, which is not to say there's still not these very difficult and thorny issues between Russia and the United States. So maybe there's an opening for discussions, but there's really no clear path of how you deal with those issues yet.
Well, it's complicated to say the least. Let's show this tweet that just came in from the president-elect, if we're not showing it already. It's hard for me to see from the posted exchange that I'm at. But as to the UN, Mr. Trump tweeted, I believe about 3 minutes ago, things will be different after January 20th. So I'm not sure, Boris, if you have any reaction to that, but I guess that goes for certainly the relationship we were talking about with Israel moments ago, and a lot of things will be different after January 20th, won't they be? What do you make of that?
Well, I think actually Senator Lindsey Graham from South Carolina has threatened basically to consider cutting or suspending funding to the UN. So President-elect Trump could certainly work with Republicans and Democrats. Again, since Democrats categorically oppose this move as well, to push back on this move by the United Nations.
All right, Boris, good to talk to you. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you so much, Colin.
And thank you for hanging with us on a couple of different subjects there as we switched
My pleasure.
back and forth. Boris Zilberman.